Shabbat Shalom and welcome. It gives me immense pleasure to bring so many people together to celebrate Shabbat and to remember Joe. And so I'm going to, at various points in the service, invite you to think of Joe. It's kind of inevitable because some of us are actually wearing his ties, which I thought was apropos. Whether you're joining us online or in person, we remember him, we celebrate him, and we will share some of the music that he brought into this community as we turn together in the Mishkan Tefillah, in the prayer book, to page 194, and join with me in the Hebrew. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzar et ha'adam bechokma uvara vo nekavim nekavim chalulim chalulim, galui veyadu lifnei chisei chavdecha, she'im yipateach echad mehem, או יסתם אחד מהם, אי אפשר להתקיים ולעמוד לפניך. ברוך אתה אדוני, רופא כל בשר ומפליע לעשות.
אלוהי, נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא, אתה ורתה יצרת, אתה נפחת בי, ואתה משמרה בקרבי, כל זמן שהנשמה בקרבי.
מודה אני לפניך, אדוני אלוהי ואלוהי אבותי, מודה אני לפניך, אדוני אלוהי ואלוהי אבותי.
ריבון כל המעשים, אדון כל הנשמות, ברוך אתה אדוני,
אשר בידו נפש כל חי, ברוח כל בשר איש.
Praise to you, Eternal One, in whose hand is every living soul and the breath of all humankind.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לשכבי בינה להבחין בין יום ובין לילה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, פוקח עברי.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מתיר אסורים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, זוקף כפופים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, רוקע הארץ על המים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המכין מצעדי גבר.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מלביש ערומים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, הנותן לאהב כוח.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המעביר שינה מעיניי ותנומה מעפעפיי.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בצלם אלוהים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בן חורין.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני ישראל.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוזר ישראל בגבורה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוטה ישראל בתפארה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה.
O eternal our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, that we, our descendants and the descendants of all your people Israel, may know you by studying Torah for its own sake. Baruch atah Adonai hamelamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. On page 206.
בתלמוד תורה. אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור עד פאת והביקורים והעריות וגמילות חסדים וגמילות חסדים ותלמוד תורה.
אלו דברים שאתה מוכר פירותיכם בעולם הזה.
הקרן קיימת לו לעולם הבא. ואהבת שלום בין אדם לחברו. וגמילות חסדים ותלמוד תורה. אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור עד פאת והביקורים והעריות וגמילות חסדים וגמילות חסדים ותלמוד תורה. ותלמוד תורה. ותלמוד תורה. And the study of Torah encompasses all because it leads to them all.
Page 212.
ברוך שמר והיה העולם, ברוך עוזב ראשית,
ברוך אומר ועושה,
ברוך חוזר ומקיים,
ברוך מרחם על הארץ,
ברוך מרחם על הבריות,
ברוך משלם זכר טוב ליראיו,
ברוך חי לעד וקיים לנצח,
ברוך פודה ומציל, ברוך שמו.
בשבחות ובזמירות נגדל לך ונשבחך ונפארך ונזכיר שמך ונמליכך מלכנו אלוהינו, יחיד כעולמים, מלך משובח ומבואר עד שמו הגדול, ברוך אתה אדוני מלך מעולל בתשבחות.
Page 214, Psalm 92 מזמור, שיר ליום השבת.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי אסור עלינה ולעלה היגיון וכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. ועזר לי בפועלך, במעשה ידיך הרנן, מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. איש פעל לא ידע, וכסיל לא יבין זאת. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. צריך אתה מגניבך, כארץ לבנון, ארון מצפה, שתולי
עולים בבית אדוני, לחצרות אלוהים יפריחו עוד ינון וצבע, דשאים ורעמים יהיו להגיד ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולה תבוא. אשרי יושבי ביתך עוד יעללוך סלה,
אשרי העם שכחלו, אשרי העם שאדוני אלוהיו.
אלא לדוד ארוממך אלוהי המלך, ועברך שמך לעולם ועד.
בכל יום אברכך, ועלה שמך לעולם ועד.
גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, ולגדולתו אין חקר.
גדול אדוני ישבח מעשיך, וגבורתך יגידו.
הדר כבודותיך ודברי נפלאותיך עשיך.
ועזוז דעתך יאמרו, וגדולתך אספרנה.
זכר רב טובך יביאו, וצדקתך ירננו.
חנון ורחום אדוני, ערך אפיים וגדול חסד.
טוב אדוני לכל, ורחמיו על כל מעשיו.
יודוך אדוני כל מעשיך, וחסידיך יברכוך.
כבוד מלכותך יאמרו, וגבורתך ידברו.
להודיע לבני אדם גבורותיו, וכבוד האדם מלכותו.
מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור.
סומך אדוני לכל הנופלים,
וזוקף לכל הכפופים.
עיני חולליך יצברו, ואתה נותן להם את אוכלם בעיתו.
פותח את ידיך ומסביר לכל חרצות.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיד בכל מעשיו.
קרוב אדוני לכל קוראיו, לכל אשר יקראו באמת.
רצון יראיו יעשה, ואת שבתם ישמע והושיעם.
שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו, ואת כל רשעים ישמיד.
תהילת אדוני ידבר פיו, וברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד.
ואנחנו נברך יה, מעתה ועד עולם.
I think Joe would have preferred Lewandowski. On page 219. Truly there is nothing like Lewandowski.
נשמע כל חי תברך את שמך אדוני אלוהינו ברוח כל בשר תפאר ותרומם זכרך מלכנו תמיד מן העולם ועד העולם אתה אין לנו מלך אלא אתה.
Please join with me on page 219 in the English at the bottom of the page. Let the soul of everything alive bless your name, eternal our God. And the spirit of all flesh glorify and exalt your name forever, O sovereign. Transcending space and time, you alone are God. We have no sovereign beside you, God of the first and the last, God of all creatures, God of all generations, who is praised in a multitude of praises, who guides the world with abundant loving kindness, and all creatures with mercy. The Eternal One neither slumbers nor sleeps. God awakens the sleeping, arouses those who slumber, gives speech to the mute, and God loosens the bonds of the captives, supports the fallen, and strengthens those who are bent over. You alone do we acknowledge. Please continue with me on 220. Even if our mouths were full of the song of the sea and our tongues full of joy in countless waves, and our lips full of praise as wide as the sky's expanse. And were our eyes to shine like sun and moon, if our hands were spread out like heaven's eagles and our feet swift like young deer, we could never thank you adequately, Adonai our God and God of our ancestors, to bless your name for a 10,000th of the many myriads of times you granted favors to our ancestors and to us. And so therefore these limbs which you have formed in us, this spirit and soul and this music that you have breathed into our nostrils, this tongue which you have set in our mouths, they must acknowledge, bless, praise, and glorify your name, our sovereign. For every mouth will acknowledge you, every tongue pledge homage to you, every knee bend in your presence, every upright person shall bow before you, every heart will revere you, and every inmost thought will sing to your name. As the psalmist wrote, let all my bones exclaim, who is like you, O God? And David continued, bless the Eternal One, O my soul, and let my inner being praise your holy name. האל בדתה תשומות עוזך, הגדול בכבוד שמך, הגיבור לנצח והנורא בנורתך, המלך היושב על כיסא רם ונישא.
שוכן עד מרום וגדול שמו, וכתוב רננו צדיקים באדוני, לישרים נאווה תהילה, בפי ישרים תתהלל, ובדברי צדיקים תתברך, ובלשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש, ובמקהלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל, ברינה יתברך שמך מלכנו בכל דור ודור, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו.
You shall always be praised, great and holy God, our sovereign in heaven and on earth. Songs of praise and psalms of adoration become you, acknowledging your might and your dominion. Yours are strength and sovereignty, sanctity, grandeur and glory always. We offer our devotion. We open our hearts in acclamation.
Baruch atah Adonai el melech gadol בתשבחות אל ההודעות אלון הנבלעות הבוחר בשירי זמרה מלכי עולמים.
We rise on page 224 for the Chatzi Kaddish and the call to prayer. 224.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך הבא.
אמן.
עמד תפרחי רוצה וימליך מלכותו בחייכון וביומכון ובחייתך בית ישראל.
בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב
ואמרו
אמן. שמי רבה מבורך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שם לקודשה
בריחו
לעולם עם כל ברכתה ושירתה
ושמחתה ונחמתה ואמירת בעלמה
ואמרו
אמן.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Please be seated if you'll join with us in the Hebrew on page 228. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uver choshech, oseh shalom uvore et hakol, hameir la'aretz veladarim aleha berachamim, uvtuvo mechadesh bechol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai kulam bechokhma asita, mala ha'aretz kinyanecha. תתברך אדוני אלוהינו על שבח מעשה ידיך ועל מאורי אור שעשית יפארוך סלע. אור חדש על ציון תאיר ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. At the bottom of page 231, this seems very apropos to Joe. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said, and light blinded we saw that inner and outer worlds are one, as you are one. You spoke and we wrote, we reached for you down the centuries. Your light moving before us as we climbed, fell back and climbed again. Your Sinai of life, Baruch atah Adonai, Habocher be'amo Yisrael ba'ahava, blessed are you, Eternal One, who chooses your people Israel in love.
בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום הלבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך ויאמר אדוני למשה לאמור דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם ונתנו הציצית הכנף לתפארת והיה לכם לציצית וראיתם אותו וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם
Adonai Elohechem Emet. True is this eternal teaching to us. Beloved and precious, awesome, beautiful and good, the God of the universe is truly our sovereign, the rock of Jacob, our protecting shield. O God, you endure through all generations. Your name persists, your throne is firm. Your sovereignty and faithfulness last forever. Your words live and endure, faithful and precious for eternity. For in Egypt you redeemed us, freeing us from bondage. Please join me. For that your beloved sang praise, exalting you. Your dear ones offered hymns, songs, praise, blessing, and thanksgiving to you as sovereign, the living and enduring God. High and exalted, great and awesome, God ever humbles the proud, raises the lowly, frees the imprisoned, redeems the afflicted, helps the oppressed, answering our people when we cry out, praise to God Most High, blessed is God and deserving of blessing. In great joy, Moses, Miriam, and all of Israel have responded with song to you, all of them proclaiming these words. Page 240.
Mi chamocha b'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef elech, nora tehilot osef elech.
שירה חדשה שבחו גאולים לשמך לשמך צפת חיים יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד
Yam bam bam bim bim bam, yam bam bam bim bam. Yam bam bam bim bidi bam, yabba bam bam bim bam. Hi rai la rai lai lai, yabba bam bam bim bam. Hi rai la rai lai lai, yabba bam bam bim bam. Zur Israel, kumma bezrat Israel, uvdechinu mecha, Yehuda veYisrael. Go aleinu, Arnai tzevaot shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch ata Adonai. Gal Yisrael. The Amidah, page 242.
Adonai sepatai tichach, Sofi yagid tehiratecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, Ha'gibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim Mekonei HaKol, V'zocher Masei Avot ve'Imahot, U'mehi Olah לבניהם, למען שמו ואהבה. מלך קודש מושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ואת הצרה. אתה כל עולם אדוני, בחיים מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל. ומקל חיים בחסד, וחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים, רופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות, ומדור מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצביע ישועה. ונאמנת חיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מערו. כך כתוב היד בירך, ניתן על זה להר.
Adosh, seated. And you can join us for Yismechu on page 250. 250.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת.
מקדשי שבי שבת עולם יספרו ויתנו מטובך השבת.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת.
רצית בו וקידשת שבת, חמדת ימים, אותו קראת שבת.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת.
זכר למעשה וראשית שבת. זכר למעשה וראשית שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת.
On page 253, if you'll join with me at the top of the page. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith, in hope, and in music. For Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living. For Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness. For Shabbat peace, born of friendship and of love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. Baruch Ata Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who sanctifies Shabbat. And so we invite Ido to join us. Perhaps the guitar wasn't Joe's preferred idiom, but I think he would have forgiven us in this case.
רצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל ותפילתם באהבה תקבל ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל ישראל עמך אל קרוב לכל קורב פני אל עבדיך וכוננו שפוך רוחך עלינו ותחזינה עינינו בשוב בך לציון. רחמים. ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו Blessed are you, Eternal One, whose presence returns to Zion.
If you'll join with me on page 257. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations, we say, for this fragile planet Earth, its times and its tides, its sunsets and its seasons, we say, for the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and its achievements, for human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and of oppression, for high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared, for all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and in freedom, for human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and to choose. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. Blessed are you, Eternal One. Your name is goodness, and you truly are worthy of thanksgiving. Page 258.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך.
אחינו אבינו כולנו כאחד, באור פניך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך.
תורת חיים ואהבת חסד, ואהבת חסד, וצדקה וברכה, ורחמים וחיים ושלום.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך.
וטוב וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך.
ברוך אתה, אדוני המבורך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
We take a moment of silent prayer and meditation, whether using the words of our prayer books or the words of our hearts. Adonai tzuri v'goeli, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. So we arrive at Seder Kriyat HaTorah Shabbat. We turn to page 362 for the order of removing the Torah from the ark. 362. If we could have Nicole and Debbie to open the ark in just a moment. We're on page 362. Maestro, for Ein Kamocha, if we could.
Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai
Ve'en kema'asecha
Malchutecha malchut kol olamim וממשלתך בכל דור ודור.
Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch leolam va'ed.
Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom.
Mirushalayim echad. Torah, Torah, le'amo Israel, b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadol Adonai iti, unerambema Shemo yachdav. Lecha seated. Thank you very kindly.
Right, and so for our first Aliyah, Rabbi Gary will lane for us, and we have our birthdays. So if you are here for a birthday, please come up at this time. I do have Philip and Tom who are here today that I know are confirmed, but if you are here for a birthday, please come up. I don't see Lottie, who's turning 102 today. How amazing is that? יעמדו שמואל בן דוד וצבי בן שלמה מלכה ראשונים לעלייה לתורה. Now you will find us in a very unusual part of the Torah, page 478 in the Platt Commentary, chapter 13, verse 17 and onwards. So the beginning of the top right-hand column.
Good morning, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And to those following at home, a very warm welcome. To those who came only following the beginning of the service, permit me to again wish you Bruchim Habaim. Today, for the second week consecutively and throughout the year, it's my intention to introduce in the portion of the Torah reading a bit of Targum, some perush, commentary, to draw interest to the text and to elicit questions and to get everyone thinking about the contents of the portion. In the first reading this morning, our text describes how the Israelites were to make their way out of Egypt by a circuitous route, though there existed a more direct path, as it says in verse number 17, Ki karov hu. Why was it necessary? Shimshon Raphael Hirsch and others remark that the people were not yet prepared in spirit to reach Sinai, to receive Torah. They needed more seasoning. Rashi speculates that had they encountered a military force, they would have despaired and determined to return immediately to Egypt. So see what you think as we begin our reading on page 478. Rabbi Morgan, could you come here, please? Thank you. And where is our yad?
Just behind you.
Oh, we're so... I would appreciate it very much. We're starting right here. Maybe if you'd be kind enough just to stand over here a little bit closer.
Do you want to touch this here? And the blessing before it.
Baruch Adonai mevarach leolam vahed.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach leolam vahed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chabanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torto. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen.
So I'm just going to touch it.
It's on.
Thank you.
Amen. Vayehi v'shalach paro et ha'am v'lo nakam Elohim derech eretz plishtim ki karov hu ki amar Elohim pen yinachem ha'am birotam Milchama v'shavu mitzrayma vayisov Elohim et ha'am derech hamidbar yamasuf v'chamushim alu v'nei Yisrael me'eretz mitzrayim vayikach Moshe at tzmot Yosef imo Ki hashpea hishpia et b'nei Yisrael lemor mizeh pakod yivkod Elohim etechem v'ha'oletem et atzmotai mizeh itechem.
And the blessing after.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. Mishberach Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, V'Leah. May God who bless our ancestors bless each of you as you come here in honor of Shabbat, in honor of Torah, in honor of the memory of Joe, but most importantly in honor of your birthdays, turning 21 and looking splendid for it. Today. Mazel Tov. May you have many opportunities to celebrate as you are today in community with so many people, all of whom have come just for your birthdays. What?
We used to only have one birthday a year.
Right, the one birthday a year. That's a good idea. I like that. Keep to one birthday a year. May you have many opportunities to celebrate with community, and we say, Amen. Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov. Come to the other side. As for our second aliyah, we invite Caroline Paz to lane for us for our anniversary. So if you are here for an anniversary, please come forward at this time. I know I've got Max and Pat Fink and Michael and Sharon Khan, and I think I've got Philip and Rona. Come on down. יעמדו רחל בת אברהם וזרע ומאיר בן משה ושרון בת יהודית ומיכאל בן יעקב הגוהן נשנים לעלייה לתורה. You will find us on the left-hand column on page 478, second line, third word in. And we're just going to point to where we are. Absolutely, I agree. I think we're just about here. Just if you want to touch there with the tzitzit or with a prayer book. And if you'll join together in the blessing before the Torah. Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam vaed.
Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Tom?
Amen. Vayasu misukot vayachanu beitam b'kitzei hamidbar v'Adonai olech lifnehem yomam ve'amud anan lilvotam haderech v'layla ve'amud esh le'ha'ir lahem la'lechet yomam v'layla lo yamish amud ha'anan yomam ve'amud ha'esh layla lifnei
And so the column of fire was before us during the days, and the column of smoke was flaming, and that was how we knew the presence of God was before us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tokenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mishberach Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, V'Leah. May God who bless our ancestors bless each of you who comes here in honor of Shabbat, in honor of Torah, in honor of the birthday boys who came before us. But most importantly, in honor of the harmony that I hear you singing as you chant these blessings. Such harmony over so many years. What an amazing thing it is to celebrate. And I can see that the number of years that you have been celebrating between you, actually I'm not even going to say, is considerable. Actually, I was there for your wedding, so just a few years ago. So may you have many opportunities to celebrate with community, with so many people come out just to celebrate for you. How remarkable. And we say Amen and Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov. Thanks,
We transition from celebration to a moment of memory. If you are here at the yahrzeit of a loved one, please come forward at this time. I do have several names, but there are other people, I'm sure, in the room who are here for yahrzeit. יעמוד יעקב חיים בן אברהם, שלישי אל העלייה לתורה, ואסתר בת אברהם ושרה, ורחל שרה בת ברוך ודבורה, שלישים לעלייה לתורה. You will find, we're on page 479, at verse 1 and onwards.
This morning's Torah reading resumes now as we reach a point of high drama in chapter 14. The Israelites find themselves pinned, their backs to the sea, the Egyptians in hot pursuit. Naturally, they begin to do what Jews do under such circumstances. They start to kvetch. Mazot asita lanu. They say to Moshe Rabbeinu, what have you done to us? Moses responds, and this is memorable, Al tiru, don't be afraid. God also weighs in here saying, Matitzak elai, why do you cry out to me? Rather, go forward. What follows is a colorful midrash about how Nachshon ben Amidav wades into the sea, impelled forward by bitachon b'Hashem, by trust and faith in God, until the water reaches his very shoulders, his neck, before it begins to part. From this emerges an interesting rabbinic consensus, which suggests that there is a time for words and there's a time for action. The trick is knowing which is called for at any given time.
If you'd like to touch with the tzitzit or with the prayer book.
Oh, there it is. Thank you.
We're just here.
Okay, so we're going through from here to here.
Let's join together in the blessing.
Baruch Adonai mevarach leolam vahed.
Amen.
Amen. Vayadaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Daber al bnei Yisrael. Vayashuvu. Vayachanu lifnei pi achirot. Ben migdol uven hayam. Lifnei be'al tzafon. Nichachot hachanu al hayam. V'amar paro livnei Yisrael, nevuchim ehem ba'aretz, sagar aleihem hamidabar, v'hi chazakati, et lev paro, v'radaf achareihem, v'kabada b'faro, u'v'chol chelo, Vayadu Mitzrayim ki ani Adonai Vayasu
Chen Chazak. And the blessing after. Amen. Mishberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak Ben Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel V'Leah. May God who bless our ancestors bless each of you who comes here in honor of Shabbat, in honor of Torah, in honor of those who have preceded you to Torah, but most importantly in honor of loved ones who are no longer with us. May those memories that you cherish, may you think of them dearly, may they be a blessing for you day in, day out as you live and you are impacted by their memories, by those memories, by the ways that they have touched you, and you have become a better person for them. May those memories always be for a blessing, and we say Amen, and we wish you all long life and that we should meet of simchas in times of joy, not only in times of sadness.
So we have just 6. All right, cool. Thank you.
And so we'd like to transition to a recognition of a festival. I'd like to invite those of us in the community who have helped with beautifying our gardens. This week has been BiShvat, the festival for the trees. Now, most years we have a Seder for BiShvat and we all levitate as a group. This year we haven't had the ability to put that together, but we would like to mark the fact that BiShvat was celebrated this week. And so I'd like to invite all of those who've helped with gardening in recent years here within the community, of course, led by Rob Sward. Rob Law's been involved, Sylvia Jonas, Sue Silverberg, Brian Samuel, Bruce Hill, Chris and Graham Smith, many who have been here for many years coming and putting their hand to the work that is so necessary to make our gardens beautiful. And if those people would like to come forward, Rabbi Fred Morgan will continue laning for us. Yamdu Yosef ben Shmuel ve'irit bat Chaim ve'Hilda revi'im la'aliyah la'Torah. You will find us chapter 14, verse 26 and onwards. Now, yep.
On the subject of BiShvat, please note that in our community, indeed around Australia, the February 12th, the week from this Sunday, is Green Sunday, an opportunity to raise funds for the Jewish National Fund and to invest in the people and the resources of the State of Israel. So if you get a call, contribute as generously as you can.
You will find us on page 481 in the right-hand column at the paragraph break. 481, right-hand column at the paragraph break. And this section will lead directly till the end of the chapter and the beginning of Shirat Hayam. Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam vaed.
Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bacha banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Verse 26.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai al Moshe, neteh et yadecha al hayam, v'yashuvu hamayim al Mitzrayim, al rechbo v'al parashav. Vayet Moshe et yado al hayam, vayashov hayam, lifnot boker leitanoho, u'Mitzrayim nasim lekratoho. Vayinael Adonai et Mitzrayim betoch hayam. Vayashuvu hamayim, vayichasu et harechev v'et haparashim, lechol kel paro, haba'im achreihem bayam, lo nishar bahem.
Ad echad chazak. And the blessing after.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mishberach Avotenu Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, may God who bless our ancestors, bless both of you as you come here in honor of Shabbat, in honor of Torah, in honor of all those who've preceded you to Torah, but most importantly in honor of the work that you have done. Walking the walk, getting out there and getting your hands dirty, I must admit, it is one of the most therapeutic things that we've done. Rob and I have had many conversations about smelly compost heaps and chicken poo. Very good for the garden. You can't imagine how much we rejoice over good quality chicken poo. It's very important. That's how you make your tomatoes taste good, not necessarily smell, but the taste is great. May the work of your hands be blessed as you bless us with all the things that you do within this community, and especially beautifying our garden. We mark it this week in honor of BiShvat, and we say Amen and thank you. And so,
Make sure they're green.
green thumbs, yes. For our fifth aliyah, we invite the Shamashim in honor of all the work that Eva has done as leading the Shamashim over the many years. I'd like to invite all of the Shamashim who are in the house at the moment
today, Ya'amdu Leah bat Shoshana v'Shoshana bat Avram v'Sara v'Naomi bat Avram v'Sara v'Maacha bat Yosef v'Sara Gershon 50 l'Aliyah LaTorah. And Rabbi Fred will continue on at verse 29 and onwards. All of those who've been a Shamash over the years, Dot, it's so good to see you in house and walking. She's going to dance a tango for us immediately after this next week. You will find us on page 481 at verse 29, which is in the left-hand column, 5th line down, 4th word in. And if you'll join together with the blessing before the Torah. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
אשר בחרבנו מכל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני, נותן התורה.
Amen.
Amen. ובני ישראל הלכו ביבשה בתוך הים, והמים להם חומה מימינם ומשמאלם. ויושע אדוני ביום ההוא את ישראל מיד מצרים. והיה ישראל את מצרים מת על שפת הים. והיה ישראל את היד הגדולה אשר עשה אדוני במצרים, ויראו העם את אדוני, ויאמינו באדוני ובמשה עבדו.
So they saw God, they saw God, they feared God, they believed in God and in Moses, God's servant. And so the blessing after the Torah.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Mishberach Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak veYaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel veLeah. May God who bless our ancestors bless each of you as you come here in honor of Shabbat, in honor of Torah, in honor of all those who've preceded you. But most importantly, we recognize that Torah is the tree of life to those who hold fast to it. And we recognize those who came just before you, who were here to celebrate BiShvat, being that they helped make the trees grow. This is the work of your hands, is the work that allows our services to succeed. Without you, we couldn't possibly make it run so smoothly. Without you, we wouldn't know who's coming up for Torah Aliyah. We wouldn't know who's coming up to open the ark. Come to that, sometimes we wouldn't have anyone opening the ark. And so we thank you, and we recognize that Eva was one of the key players as a key head of the Shamashim for so many years, both here and actually in Bentley as well for a number of years. May the work of your hands, because many of you may have sat at her feet over the years, been trained by her. May the work of your hands be a tribute to all that Eva has done. And may you continue in this work, which is so important to us. And we on the pulpit are grateful. Thank you. May you go from strength to strength. And we say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Just wanted to confirm that. Thank you, guys.
And so it seems very apropos for our final Aliyah that we invite Abby to lane for us. If you turn the page, you'll find we're moving forward to page 488. And for this Aliyah, I'm going to invite all of the musicians. That is every single person in the choir, and David, and I saw Joel is in the house, and Ido, you'll need to come down, and all of the soloists, and we have Jeff, come on up. This is for you as well. And Andrew, come on down.
all of those who have worked with Joe as musicians within this community in all the different ways that you may have participated, including if you were in the Purim Spiel. I don't know how many people will be left in the congregation if I keep going, but it gives you a little bit of an idea of some of the people who were impacted and who got to work with Joe and celebrate with Joe and make music with Joe. Yes.
Okay.
Where have you go to? That's fine. You'll find us on page 488. Gary.
So we've reached the section known as Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea. You'll notice that Abby will sing it using a distinct trope or melody, and it's appropriate for all who are able to stand once it begins and while listening. It is a beautiful and expressive poem which, legend teaches, is the first occasion when the people sang their praise to God. In the Mishnah, it teaches that Moses and the Israelites all sang together. Akiva believed that Moses sang first, and the people repeated in call and response, in antiphonal fashion, a style of singing that is still observed in many synagogues today. Of interest, too, perhaps, is the reprimand found in the Talmud, in which the angels are so excited by the crossing of the sea that they too want to break out in song, to which the rabbis give this reply: "How dare you sing when my creatures are dying in the sea?" Referring, of course, to the Egyptians. And this teaches an important lesson, does it not? That the God of Israel is the God of all people, and that we, as the children of Israel, are never permitted to take pleasure in the pain or the suffering of others. As it says in Masechet Brachot in the Talmud, our personal happiness should never leave us unmindful of the sorrow and misfortunes that may afflict others. So we continue our reading on page 488, and could I ask you, once the bracha is recited, to please rise and to follow as Abby reads so beautifully.
So the blessing before the Torah.
Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam vaed.
Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Such music to my ears. So again, you'll find us on page 488. Please rise. You will note that Abby will chant this quite differently throughout, and if you're looking in the Platt commentaries, you can see the physical layout of the poem. It's one of the only two places in the Torah which we have a physically different layout.
אז ישיר משה ובני ישראל את השירה הזאת לאדוני ויאמרו לאמור אשיר על אדוני כי גאו גאה סוס ורחבו רמה וים עוזי וזמרתיה ויהי לי לישועה זה אלי וענווהו אלוהי אבי וארממנו אדוני איש מלחמה אדוני שמו מרכבו פרעה וחילו ירה וים ומבחר שלי שבתו ובאו ביום סוף תהמות תכסיו מוידו במצלו כמו אבן ימינך אדוני נדרי בכוח ימינך אדוני תרעץ אויב וברוב גונך תהרץ קמך תשלח ארונך יאכל עמו כקש וברוח אפיך נעמו מים ניצבות קומות לא ניצולים כפו תהמות בלב ים אמר אויב אדוב אסיק אכלק שלל תמלאמו נפשי אריק חרבי תורישמו ידי נא שבתה ברוחך כי שמו בים. צללו כופרת במים אדירים. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. נטית ימינך, צבעי הארץ, נחית וחסדך, עמזו גאלת, נהילת ועזך, על נווה קדשך, שמו המים יגדזון, חילך אז יושבי פשט. אז נבלו אלופי אדום, אלה מואב, יוחזי מורעד, נמוגו כל יושבי כנען, תיפול אליהם, עמתה ופחד בגדול זרועך, יודעי מורכבן עד אבוא, עמך אדוני, עד אבוא, עמזו קניתה, תביאמו ותיתמו בה, נחלתך מחור נשופתך, בעלת אדוני, מקדש אדוני, כוננו ידיך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. כי סוס פרעה רכבו פרשה בים, וישב אדוני אליהם את מהם, ובני ישראל הלכו ביבשה בתוך הים. ותיקח מרים הנביאה, אחות אהרון, את הטוב בידה, ותצא עם כל נשים אחריה, בתופים ובמחולות. ותען להם מרים, שירו לאדוני כי גאה, סוס ורכבו, רמה בים.
Fabulous. כל הכבוד. And the blessing after.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתננו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם אתה בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, נותן התורה.
Amen. Mishbarach Avotenu Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. May God bless our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, Leah. Bless each of you who come here in honor of Shabbat, in honor of Torah, in honor of those who preceded you, but in honor most of all of the beautiful harmony that you bring to this community, the beautiful music that you bring, the ruach, the energy, because ultimately people come out talking about two things, the drush and the music. And today is an example of how beautiful, how much you bring to our services, how much you embellish and how much you enrich our services. And also how we all as musicians pay tribute to Joe and to Eva and to all that they have contributed over so many years. May you all go from strength to strength and note to note. And we say Amen and Mazal Tov. I'm not going to even try to kiss you all. Please come down. However, in the presence of Torah, we do take a moment to think of those who are unwell. And so we come back to our prayer book and we turn to page 371. 371. Mi sheberach avotenu מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. This Shabbat we especially think of Yeshayahu, Gershon, Gabriel, Ben Ilana, Esther, Raymond, Rich, Ilana, Esther, Bat Rachel, Patrick, Buckley, Francis, Zucker, Rachel, Bat Avram, Vesara, Morris, Slonim, Chava, Leah, Bat Miriam, Moshe, Ben Frumer, Umalka, Lisa Krieger, Graham Smith, Stuart Smith, Carol Bentara, John Matters, Miriam Josephs, Stella Edgar, Jamie Scott, Baby Liron, Bat Hadas, Paz, Alison, Simons. If there are other names, please add them as I look around the room.
שברך אמותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו, bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let's say Amen.
I'll invite Neil to come up to raise the Torah, and as we do raise the Torah, I'm not sure who's been allocated the Haftarah, if that person could come up as well. As we do raise the Torah, I'm going to invite you to look at the middle section, because that's the section we're going to show, the very different physical layout of this poem. It's the only place other than Ha'azinu, the very last Torah portion, which has a different physical layout. So I'm going to invite you, as you raise the Torah, to turn around, face the ark so they can see the Torah, and please rise.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני ביד משה. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני ביד משה. ירה לי 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 לי, ירה לי 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 לי, ירה לי לי ירה
Please be seated. You'll find us in the Haftarah, page 703 in the Plout commentaries. Brenda, thank you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim, v'ratza v'divreihem, hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah, u'v'Moshe avdo, u'v'Yisrael amo, u'v'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Devorah, the wife of Lapidot, was a prophetess. She led Israel at that time. She used to sit under the palm of Devorah between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim, and the Israelites would come to her for decisions. She summoned Barak, son of Abinoam of Kaddish in Naphtali, and said to him, "The Lord, the God of Israel, has commanded, go, march up to Mount Tabor, and take with you 10,000 men of Naphtali and Zebulun. And I will draw Sisera, Jabin's army commander, with his chariots and his troops towards you up to the Wadi Kishon, and I will deliver him into your hands." But Barak said to her, "If you will go with me, I will go. If not, I will not go." "Very well, I will go with you," she answered. "However, there will be no glory for you in the course you are taking, for then the Lord will develop Sisera into the hands of a woman." So Devorah went with Barak to Kadesh. Barak then mustered Zebulun and Naphtali at Kadesh. 10,000 men marched up after him, and Devorah also went up with him. Now Heber the Kenite had separated from the other Kenites, descendants of Hoab, father-in-law of Moses, and had pitched his tent at Elon Bezanim, which is near Kadesh. Sisera was informed that Barak, son of Abinoam, had gone up to Mount Tabor. So Sisera ordered all his chariots, 900 iron chariots, and all the troops he had to move from Harotzeth Gonim to Wadi Kishon. Then Devorah said to Barak, "Up, this is the day on which the Lord will deliver Sisera into your hands. The Lord is marching before you." Barak charged down Mount Tabor, followed by the 10,000 men. And the Lord threw Sisera and all his chariots and army into a panic before the onslaught of Barak. Sisera leapt from his chariot and fled on foot. As Barak pursued the chariots and the soldiers as far as Haroshet Goim, all of Sisera's soldiers fell by the sword. Not a man was left. Sisera, meanwhile, had fled on foot to the tent of Jael, wife of Hever the Canaanite, for there was friendship between King Jabin of Hazor and the family of Hever the Kenite. Jael came out to greet Sisera and said to him, "Come in, my lord. Come in here. Do not be afraid." So he entered her tent, and she covered him with a blanket. He said to her, "Please let me have some water. I am thirsty." She opened a skin of milk and gave him some to drink. And she covered him up again. And he said to her, "Stand at the entrance of the tent. If anyone comes and asks you if there is anyone here, say no." Then Jael, wife of Hever, took a tent pin and grasped the mallet when he was fast asleep from exhaustion. She approached him stealthily and drove the pin through his temple till it went down to the ground. Thus he died. Now Barak appeared in pursuit of Sisera. Jael went out to greet him and said, "Come, I will show you the man you are looking for." He went inside with her, and there Sisera was lying dead with a pin in his temple. On that day, God subdued King Jabin of Hazor before the Israelites. The hand of the Israelites bore harder and harder on King Jabin of Canaan, and they destroyed King Jabin of Canaan. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzaddik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'oseh, hamdaber u'mkayem, shechol devarav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah v'al ha'avodah v'al ha'neviim, v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, likdusha v'limnucha, lechavod ultifaret. Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, u'mevarchim otach, yitbarach shimcha, b'fi kol chai tamid leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen. Thank you, Brenda. Beautifully read as always. And so we'll return to our prayer book for the prayer for country and for Israel. I'll invite the Right Honourable Kenvan Bell to join us on the bima, as well as the Right Honourable Rabbi Kim Ettlinger to join us. And in a moment, we'll invite Joel to open the ark. You will find us back in our prayer books on page 376.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you go first. Off you go.
Acknowledgement of country. Temple Beth Israel acknowledges the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples are the first peoples of Australia. The Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation are the traditional owners of the land on which our synagogue is located, for which they have never ceded sovereignty. We pay our respects to their elders past and present. Prayer for our country. Let us bless our country of Australia and all its people. Let us have dreams in this historic land of dreamers. Let the hot winds from the desert fire our imagination. Let the red soil of the plains keep us rooted to the things that matter. Let the waters of our rivers, our lakes and our oceans flow into our hearts, giving us depth and understanding. Keep our eyes open to the beauty of this land. May we strive to keep its beauty present and strong. Help us remember those who have lived in this land before us and those who have made it their home in most recent times. May we never be lazy in the work for peace. May we honour those who have died in defence of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they lead with justice and compassion. Let our compassion be like the encompassing coastlines of our continent. May acceptance, kindness and peace live steadily within this ancient and enduring land.
Amen.
Shalom, Shalom, Yerushalayim. Yishlayu o Havaich. Avinu Shabashamaim, Zu Yisrael V'Golo. Barechet Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Michat Golatenu. Hagen Aleha Be'evrat Chastecha, B'fros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha. Ushlach Orcha U'mitzecha L'Rasheha, Sareha V'Yotzeha. V'takneim Be'etza, Tova Milfanecha, V'natata Shalom Ba'aretz. V'smichat Shalom, Olam L'Rashbeha, V'nomar.
Amen. So we return our Torah to the Ark on page 374. Please rise.
Shamayim, Bayarin Keren Ve'amo Teila Lechol Chasidav Livnei Yisrael Am Kerovo Please be seated.
I think Joe would have loved the fact that he had such an amazing choir. I think Joe would have loved that it was Shabbat Shirah, the Shabbat of song. I think Joe would have loved that it today happens to also be a day when we recognize cancer as being a scourge that if only we could focus on cancer the way we did on the pandemic. I wonder if we couldn't cure cancer in a year as well, or at least find a vaccine or something, progress. For those of you who've been at a minyan which I've officiated, you may be familiar with my practice of inviting people to think of stories about the person, perhaps stories which might begin with, I remember when. It's a lovely way for people to tell anecdotes and hear stories that you may not know, but which illuminate aspects of a person's personality really well. I set aside the chronology and I focus on not what he did, but who he was. When I ask a few people for their favorite stories about Joe, here are a few of the words which recurred and that I'm sure you'll find yourself nodding along. Kind, gentle, selfless, mentor, encouraging, supportive, unobtrusive. We're not talking about his ties. Optimistic, tireless, just to mention a few. The other thing that stands out is that almost all of the stories about Joe include Eva. Very rarely did you say Joe. You almost always said Joe and Eva, who was his partner for over 65 years and by his side at every service, performance, or rehearsal. She's surely due an honorary doctorate of sacred music in her own right. She would sit out there in the foyer and click people in through the gate, all through the rehearsal. I fully agree. We love the voices of children. Joe was a loving father, grandfather, great-grandfather, husband, and had a great love for family and specifically for Eva. They met through Joe's mum, with Eva having been her hairdresser. In 1957, they were married here at TBI and recently celebrated their 65th wedding anniversary in August. For those in the congregation who've enjoyed the music of TBI over the past many decades, in many ways you have Joe to thank as chief recruiter and talent spotter. I personally met Joe and Eva Stupel almost 30 years ago. Rabbi John Levi had called me and asked me to join the team of cantorial soloists a whole 3 weeks before Rosh Hashanah. No pressure. Joe helped me to compile the sheet music to rehearse in a crash course for the Yamim Noraim. We would meet at TBI at my home in Bentley or at their home in Bega Court in Aspendale, and Joe coached me through the huge progressive repertoire, which was quite different to the traditional repertoire which I had previously learnt, interspersed with charming conversations and delicious sandwich lunches prepared by Eva. The high holidays made a splash, and soon after Joe was coaching me through the repertoire for Sukkot, and of course soon after that for Simchat Torah, and of course regular Fridays and Shabbat services. It was the beginning of a remarkable journey as we also began to collaborate on concert repertoire. To give you an idea of how far back Joe and Eva's connection to the progressive Melbourne community spans, I asked a few people, and Lawrence Splitter talks about meeting Joe in the early 60s, when Joe was the organist and choir director at what is now Etz Chaim, but was at the time Southern Liberal Congregation. And he said, prior to joining the choir, by the way, I found it remarkable to have Dr. Lawrence Splitter here on my left, because when I sing some of the repertoire here, I hear Laurie's voice. And Rhonda, here to my right, because Rhonda came in as I was actually transitioning to Hebrew Union College. And Sharon, who's at the moment sitting in the choir, who's transitioned in recently, all have a huge debt to pay to Joe. Laurie's words. Prior to joining the choir, Joe invited me and my cousin David Bloom to sing solos at Shabbat evening services. From memory, I sang Baruch Hu, and David sang the Shema. This was before my voice broke. I find that hard to imagine. But I was fortunate enough to retain both my ability and my desire to sing right through my teenage years and beyond. Have you exited your teenage years yet? I served as a cantorial soloist from the age of about 20, and in 1974, at very short notice, I sang the entire repertoire for Yom Kippur under Joe's direction and encouragement. This was actually 2 days after the passing of Hermann Schilberger, the gifted German musician who brought the wonderful music of Lewandowski and Sulzer to Australia in the 30s, and all of which that music which Joe perpetuated here. From then on, I sang as a cantorial soloist in several synagogues, including TBI almost every Friday and Shabbat and festival until the early 2000s, and continued to do so mainly at high holidays. Without question, Joe was the driving force behind my early involvement at TBI. Always encouraging, always optimistic, and always truly seemingly tireless. Rest in peace, my mentor and my good friend. So, Rhonda shared a few words. Where do you start with a person who was a friend and mentor for over 30 years? Joe started me as a cantorial soloist pathway in October of '99, giving encouragement and support and passing on knowledge unobtrusively along the way. On my first Rosh Hashanah solo performance before becoming a regular Saturday soloist, I made my way from the choir onto the bima and sang the Avinu Malkeinu, still one of your favorites, and ours. I was nervous, but he told me, "You are ready. You can do this." There were lots of rehearsals for High Holidays repertoire and concerts at his comfortable and always welcoming home, often ending with a cup of tea and chats along with Eva. We covered a lot of musical comedy, light opera, arias, ballads, and of course Yiddish songs, which we combined for our one-hour concerts for the oldies at Kadima, various Montefiore venues, and of course Emi Monash, where he was always welcomed with open arms. We didn't notice that we were catching up in age to the residents. We just sang and played as a team, hopefully bringing joy. His music, his repertoire was reflective of many facets of Joe in his lifetime of music, as he accompanied TBI soloists at concerts at pretty much every Jewish institution in Melbourne. Kadima, the Russian Club, the Holocaust Survivors Club, the Jewish Care Facilitated Support Groups, Wizo, Bnei Brit, aged homes, and everything from light opera, arias, ballads, through Yiddish classics, and of course, the music of the synagogue. Joe came from a family of musicians. His father, Boris, was a violin professor at the Con. After surviving the Holocaust in Berlin, mistaken for a Christian due to his blonde hair and blue eyes. Joe also went on to study organ, accordion, and trombone. Did you know that he studied trombone at the conservatorium? He taught music, worked at Allen's for 32 years, and in 1960 demonstrated an organ to a certain Rabbi John Levi, who is probably the only person with superior talent spotting recruiting skills to Joe's. Because Rabbi Levi promptly invited him to play at the Southern Liberal Congregation, which is now Etz Chaim. The rest, as they say, is history. And as we've said before, but bears saying again, Joe's commitment was worthy of the recognition he was later given. 58 years of service. 5,637 services. He's the only person I know who's ever counted them. He did. I remember we celebrated his 5,000th service and did 637 more. He served, and he put in brackets, survived, 24 rabbis, including 4 senior rabbis, 2 cantors, and 23 cantorial soloists. It also needs to be said that, especially in a partnership like Joe and Eva's, this was a commitment they both carried out. Eva was by his side through all of this and in all the other ways that they both served the community. Eva was president of BPS, Bentley Progressive Synagogue, head Shamash at TBI for many years, and the president of the Bnei Brit Menorah Lodge. They were such a tour de force that in 2012 they were the first husband and wife to receive the JCCV Community Recognition Award together. He was a big guy, but a gentle man and softly spoken. He was kind and generous and quietly went about what he needed to do without any muss or fuss. Anna was had a soft spot for Joe's wardrobe, his collection of musical ties. He gave me wonderful gifts of ties, socks, and pocket handkerchiefs along the way, and I'm delighted to wear some of those today in his honor. So as you remember Joe, think of him in your favorite one of his shirts and colorful ties, sitting at the organ, walking into a rehearsal with Eva, or perhaps cleaning his beloved swimming pool. He did love that pool. He would love nothing more than to have been here today, helping to provide the fabulous music that he was instrumental, pun intended, in keeping alive within this community. I think most of all he would have preferred if I keep this short and sweet. We will miss him. May he rest in peace. And so we'll come back to our prayer book as we rise and open the ark. I believe it's Simon who's opening the ark for Aleinu on page 586. 586.
עלינו לשבח, לארון הכל, לתת גדולה, ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויים ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם בגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
We remain standing for a few more moments as we turn to page 598 in the words of Kaddish Yatom. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. Today we especially think of Joe Stupel. In the period of Shiva, we think of Darrell Ritter, Kenneth Ray, Donna Rogers. For the period of Shloshim, Irina Gershkov, Donald Chowder, Shalom Kagan, Ronald Nathan, Stan Marks, Pearl Tritel, Yuri Yunev, Peter Prager, Susan Chan, Matthew Ellis, and Alan Firestone. And the yahrzeits which fall on this Shabbat: Ilsa Abrams, Harold Basser, Oleg Begleiter, Rose Benjamin, Farewell Boyarsky, Louis Kahn, Henry Donenfeld, Rona Drobis, Rosa Eichner, John Engelman, Dylan Evans, Ernestine Fast, Julius Krieger, David Greenberg, Ronald Hurd, Campbell Jordan, Atida Levine, Abraham Lipman, Ken Markey, Rachel Martin, Max Opat, Lily Rake, David Rich, Isaac Schweitzer, Raymond Sharma, Ron Sharp, Tracy Smits, Ilan Ramon, the Israeli astronaut who died in space on the Columbia 20 years ago. We also think of those killed in Israel in terror attacks: Asher Natan, Elian Natali Mizrahi, Ilya Sosansky, Rafael Ben Eliyahu, Irina Korolava, Shaul Chai, and the many thousands who have died and continue to die so unnecessarily in Ukraine. If there are other names, please call them out as I look around the room. Zichronam livracha, may their memories truly be for a blessing as we join together in the words of Kaddish Yatom on page 598.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו, לעילם עם קהל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, באמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרבה מן שמיא, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all of Israel, and to all of humanity. And we say, Amen. Please be seated as the President of our Board of Governors shares a few announcements.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'd like to really welcome everyone here this morning. It's just so lovely to see such a large congregation here to honour tribute to Joe Stupel this morning. And I must also say, and thanks to Eva for being with Joe and serving our community so beautifully for so many years. I wish a special mazel tov to those who are celebrating anniversaries, birthdays and other smachot, and wish you a long life to all those who are remembering your loved ones. I'd also like to say a special thank you to David, Cram, all of the choir, to our cantor for such beautiful words that he spoke about Joe, and for everyone to come here this morning to really make the time, make the efforts to remember someone who is so important in all of our lives of this congregation. So thank you very much to everyone. A few things. It's been a wonderful Shabbat. Last night we got to celebrate Pride Shabbat, and we had over 200 people here in our sanctuary last night, and it was so wonderful to celebrate with the community. Tomorrow, on Sunday, those who'd like to join, we are partaking in the Pride March down Fitzroy Street. I think we meet around about 10 o'clock at the Johnson Oval corner of what I call Alma Road and Fitzroy Street. It's actually, I think, Orty Drive, and if you'd like to join us there. Classes for Bet Sefer Chaim will resume this Tuesday, as well as the tribe classes resume this Tuesday. We are looking for many volunteers. I'm probably speaking to a lot of the people that are already volunteers, but those that are watching, and welcome to everyone watching this morning, we're having a Volunteers Expo on Purim. So please come along, sign up. We've got a lot of activities that we need help with during the year at our congregation.
Anyone would think that you're preaching to the choir.
No, they're already volunteers, thank you. Pastoral care training with Cantor Lalum. It's a new course. It starts on February the 22nd, and that's a really most wonderful thing to be able to reach out to our congregation and be able to visit and take care of those that aren't able to be here. Kosher Supper Club, which Rabbi is starting. It's one of the kosher restaurants. There isn't a lot of chairs, so it's going to start on Sunday the 26th. I understand the Jakubowicz family are the hosts that evening. That doesn't mean they pay, that just means that they're hosting. And so please have a look in the Shabbat Shalom newsletter for that. Purim Shmuel, if you ever wanted to be Elvis, this is your opportunity. You really need to come along, sign up, and join us on March the 6th for a twist and shout. Right? And don't forget the Purim Carnival on Sunday the 5th. I'm almost done. I know that you'd like to get to Kaddish. One other thing to remind you, the King David School King's Carnival is on March the 26th. The TBI team will be there making donuts, so please come and help us make donuts and say hi to everyone at King David School. After the final song, we are having a Kiddush. Let me tell you, it is a magnificent Kiddush this Shabbat in tribute to Joe, honour of Joe and Eva. So there is enough for everyone here, so please thoroughly enjoy. And lastly, but most important, don't forget as you leave, thank those guys that have been standing outside in the rain for us to keep us secure. And one other thing I'd like to do is, and I haven't forgotten, and that is that I'd like to say how fantastic it is to have so many of our rabbis here with us this morning. not only Rabbi Roebuck, we've got Rabbi Levi, we've got Rabbi Morgan, and special hugs for Rabbi Ettinger. It is most fantastic to have you back here in our congregation and to be sitting here with us, and we really welcome you more and more often, please. So thank you. Okay.
Please rise as we join together for Kaddish, and then Kaddish Motzi and a version of Adon Olam that Joe would have appreciated. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל לא תהיה לעולם כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת בנפש על כן ברך את יום השבת ויקדשהו סברי מרנן ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן לחיים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, המוציא לחם מן הארץ. אמן. אדון עולם, page 625. אדון עולם, אשר מלך, בטרם כל יסודנו אדון עולם. להתנשא בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, אדון עולם, אשר מלך, בטרם כל, יציא נברא, להתנשא בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא אדון עולם, והוא היה, והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בדברה אדון עולם, אדון עולם, אשר מלך, בטרם כל, יציא נברא, להתנשא, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, והוא אחד ואין שני, להכשילו להגבירה אדון עולם, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא עוז והמזרח אדון עולם, אדון עולם, אשר מלך, בטרם כל, יציא נברא, להתנשא, בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בצרה אדון עולם, והוא ניסי וננוס לי, מנת קודי ביום מגרע אדון עולם, אדון עולם, אשר מלך בטרם כל, יציא נברא, להתנשא בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, בידו הפקיד רוחי, ותשם בעירה אדון עולם, ועם רוחי כביאתי, אדון לי ולא יירא אדון עולם, אדון עולם, אשר מלך בטרם כל, יציא נברא, להתנשא בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון